I'm Alex Seay with Bird Law Group.
Welcome back to another episode of Bird's Eye View. I'm your host, Alex Seay with Bird Law Group, and today we have with us Molly Gillis, an attorney in the personal injury space. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Molly.
Well, thank you, Alex. I'm Molly Gillis. I own the Gillis Law Firm in Marietta, Georgia. We represent victims of personal injury, catastrophic injury, wrongful death, and we also have a side specialty of representing police officers and firefighters with their certification problems.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a nice side hustle.
And it's interesting.
I love that. Yeah, kind of messes it up, right? Got it. Well, so one thing we like to do to introduce our guests to our audience is ask you some quick rapid fire questions before we get into the deep stuff, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here we go. All right, coffee or tea to start the day?
Neither. Diet Coke.
Okay, well, at least caffeinated.
Straight to the Diet Coke.
Okay, morning court or afternoon court?
Both.
All day? Or you just like both?
Either.
Court's court, right? Litigators,
Let's just they happen. I guess it depends on the judge.
Right. Fair enough. As long as the judge is in a good mood, I'll go, no, it's better. If they like me better, I am there for it. Favorite way or favorite thing to do to unwind after a heavy case?
There's two roads, Pilates or happy hour sometimes, but
Have you ever done, this is off the, here I go, off the script. Have you ever done yoga or Pilates with drinks? Like I've seen,
not yet.
Beer yoga or like champagne yoga. Or no, we should do that. I think that's a new event. Maybe we should start.
We should do it on the podcast.
How fun would that be?
I think fun. I don't know if everybody else would, but we could add puppies, like puppy Pilates.
Puppy, like, have you done goat yoga? Have you seen that?
No, but we're never staying on script.
I went to an alpaca farm.
We were still yoga, but I went to an alpaca farm and cat baby alpacas. Super cute.
Oh, that is really cute. We were looking at things to do for the Women's Caucus for GTLA, and I came across goat yoga.
I have lots of random ideas if you need it.
Yes.
Rachel's like, oh my gosh, where is it going? The alpaca farm.
The alpacas. Okay. Beach vacation or mountain escape?
I need a lot of sunscreen. Mountain.
I like mountains.
Yep. I love them.
One word your clients would use to describe you.
Protective.
Okay. I think that's a great answer.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Trial or negotiation? So trial or mediation, which one do you prefer?
I like trial, but I think lawyers are the only ones who like trial. So for my clients, probably mediation.
Right. Something resolutions finite.
Yep.
Most used app on your cell phone right now?
Oh gosh, that goes to their Dancing with the Stars situation. We'll get into that, some sort of video contraption practicing my dance routines.
So, okay, this is something I knew I wanted to ask you about, and something that our firm has sponsored that Molly is doing. And probably by the time this episode is released, you will have done it. But what did you sign up for?
And this goes, but we'll get into the bird. It goes with this.
Oh, okay. Right.
And my friend, and I guess we'll get into that. My friend is a fundraising chair of this nonprofit dance company in Marietta, the Mayor Square. And I was sitting next to him at lunch, and he got in a bind and said, "Please do this." I was like, "No, I don't dance. You see this?" And I said, "Well, of our friend Brian Marcos, he's actually the Smyrna Fire Chief." I was like, "Well, if he does it," he had already said no 3 times. I said, "If he says yes, I'll do it." He said yes. 4th time is a charm. Yes. So thanks, Brian. And so he and 2 other friends and I are Team Smoke Show for Dancing with the Stars.
So you all are doing a Marietta Dance with the Stars to raise money for the theater?
Yes. So most of it goes for kids who can't afford to be in a dance company. They get scholarships to go dance and being creative, and then it helps with their productions. And also Alex jumped at the chance to sponsor this. So thank you.
Oh, of course. I grew up doing ballet and tap. I was fortunate enough to do that. Okay, so I stopped dancing that way when I was like 11 because my lack of coordination really started to shine a light. Okay. And it gets a little more competitive the older you get.
Yeah.
And I found myself like going to the back of the group, and then I tried out for the dance team in 7th grade and I didn't make it. And that was one of the times where I finally was like, you know what? I don't think this is my thing. So I would look like a fish out of water. That's where I am. I've never taken one dance class in my entire life. So it's where the app comes in. You're practicing. Yeah. My dog was yesterday. It's like, what are you doing? So and the dog's like sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, I know. See, we're done in front of 525 feet. Hey, but it's for a great cause.
It is. You're welcome, DF scholarship students.
What is your favorite spot near or on Mariana Square?
Oh, there's two. Max is a really good go-to happy hour on the square, right by the courthouse on the corner. And then Session Stand is this coffee shop. They make the best pastries, and then they have a like wine bar too. Well, you can walk to it from the office on Session Street.
Apparently my office is not in the right location. No. We have nice other restaurants flanked on either side. No wine bar with pastries, so.
Well, you can come see me, and then I'll come see you.
Yes. All right. So I got this question and I froze, but oh gosh. If you weren't a lawyer, what would you do?
I would be a very poor photographer.
Okay.
I would love to do that. No one would pay me to do it.
Think you enjoy?
Love it. Yeah, that makes me go places I normally want to go, or it's great that there's a reason I'm not being paid for it.
One thing that you are very grateful for it this year.
You.
Very grateful for you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you. And I've never done this.
Yeah, that's really fun. Well, so one of the reasons we started the podcast was I feel like there are not enough opportunities for us to sit down and show our real people side.
That's true.
Right?
Very true.
People see our lawyer side all the time. Our families see our real people side, but there are things that are going on around us that I think deserve a platform. So, and I'm glad to be here. So thank you. So happy. I'm glad you brought champagne. So too. While I get in tap dash, we're filming it. Yeah, exactly. Just serve it. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So what I want to ask you now, as I get this open, and hopefully I don't make a fool of myself or hurt anybody, is who would you like to get the bird to?
Yes. So that goes back to my Dancing with the Stars, the situation, which actually really is fun. Is that my very dear friend Colt Chambers? He owns the alley stage at the Marietta. We run Leadership Club together. He is the fundraising chair for Dancing with the Stars, and he's fun doing it. And it's a very friendly bird. It's a very friendly little bird because I do love him. But right now in the midst of it, I'm like, you said. So, and he's at the beach for 3 months.
So is he dancing?
Or the head of the chair. He's danced before. He's just the fundraising chair. I do love him. I'm gonna not like that. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're good. Nobody's fine.
I'm telling you, Master Test. And past. The craziest thing that happened when I opened a bottle of champagne, I was actually on a boat, and a cork popped off unexpectedly, and it went up and like hit the ceiling and left a dent in the ceiling of the boat I was on. Left my mark.
Well, yeah. And now when people are on the boat, they're gonna be like, "Ooh, that was a fun day." You know what? I should have autographed. Was it a rental?
But no, it was like a charter ordeal. So it was definitely somebody else's boat. Let's go back and go fun again. Well, cheers. Thanks for having me. Thank you for being on today. So one of the things we talked about, I think we were at a fundraiser together for Jason Estevez or Lyle's house. Yes. And you were talking about your experience before you came into the private sector. You were a prosecutor. Okay. So yes, tell us a little bit about that. What did you do? Where were you?
Yeah. I loved it. It's great. And the thing about prosecution is, the thing I loved so much about prosecution is you take an additional oath, not just a lawyer oath. You get sworn in as a constitutional officer, and it's to pursue justice. So if a prosecutor knows that they cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt crime, even if they did it, but if we cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt, you're not supposed to go for it with that case. Now, if it's jury question, totally different. That's different. But we have that ethical obligation. So we really were a gatekeeper of what we believe justice was. So that was a extremely powerful role. And all of the elected officials I had the privilege of working for took it very, very seriously and preached it all the time. This is what we're supposed to be doing. It's not just get conviction.
Right.
It's to pursue justice. That was my favorite part. I think I answered the question. I don't remember. But I had moved back from Colorado in law school, after law school. And I started with now Justice Sean LaGrua. She was the elected in DeKalb as the solicitor. And she was my first boss and an incredible boss. And I also worked for Barry Morgan in Cobb County. And then I took several years to go to insurance defense because I was poor. And then I left insurance defense to go in when Vic Reynolds was elected the Cobb County District Attorney. He asked me to come with him, and that was a huge compliment to go prosecute for him. It was amazing.
Yeah, wonderful job. What types of cases were you working on in the prosecutor's office?
It went from traffic citations and DUIs to what's called aggravated battery, very bad domestic violence situations. If we had attempted murder in Georgia, it's called aggravated assault. Some murder cases. I second chaired some crimes against women and children cases. So it went in drug cases, theft cases, violent crimes, rape cases.
Wow.
All the things.
That's some really heavy stuff too.
Very heavy stuff.
Yeah. So one of the ongoing themes I feel like when I'm talking to people who do what I do is how do you maintain not maintain because I don't know that any of us do that. Strive for work-life balance, especially when you're handling such serious cases it's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah. So what are some of the things you do?
So I have found, especially in the prosecutor's office, and I think in our line of work too, I feel like the job goes into a different part of the brain. As much as we try to integrate it, it kind of has to be compartmentalized. At least that's how mine is. And it leaks back and forth. But then, just also trying to see the good in people. A lot of times we don't see it at work. But getting outside of work, getting around family and your friends and charity work and seeing the good in people, and that what we do is not the entire universe, right? Even though it feels like it.
Right. What do you do? Film podcasts and drink champagne with my friends?
That's what they're doing to Dad?
No, one of the things that I tried to do is make sure I turn off before I get home to the extent that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And someone probably wiser than me told me to not take work calls on my way home and to try and listen to something that's not work. Unfortunately for me, sometimes that ends up being Dateline. So I don't know that that's really helping.
But it's different. I do love the environment's different. I do love Dateline.
So I try to do that. Now, does it happen every day? No. There's still days I pull into the garage and I'm on a work phone call, always. Right. So, but that's something that I'm striving to do more often. I think that's good advice to check out. This time is not work time. Exactly. I'm always working and always playing. I'm always thinking about work. That's true. So how do you think your experience in the prosecutor's office and in DA's office and the solicitor's office, how that shaped the type of personal injury and catastrophic injury attorney that you are today?
I feel as though I have a skill set, and you can get it from anywhere. But for me personally, being in a courtroom for 5 years, it was a little bit broken up. But when you're a prosecutor, you're vast majority of times in court. In both counties I was assigned to one particular judge, usually for a year at a time, sometimes a little longer. So it became your home base. So you bring your files to court, and that's your home base, and that's your workload. You have your trial partner, and you have your team, and you know your judge. And so it's like a second home. So now the vast majority of what we do is not inside a courtroom, right? It's at our desk. It's with our clients. It's taking depositions. But knowing I have that comfort and I have that ability. Well, if we're not going to resolve it, that's fine. That's my favorite part. Right? Some attorneys don't have that comfort because they haven't had that experience.
Right. So I feel like that probably is it. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Having the just comfort level in the courtroom, knowing that if any of your cases need to go the full way to a jury, you're like, all right, well, let's roll.
Yeah, and sometimes the jury most often gets it right, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't agree, but they're doing their job and being fully aware that we're picking 12 people and we're going to educate them the best we can about what's happened to our client for the past several years by the time we get there. Make them understand why it matters, and then put it in their hands and just trust our justice system to do its job.
That's a topic of conversation a lot right now, right? With SBAs and legislative session being open and rolling, and whether or not we can trust juries, right? Especially with civil cases. What are your thoughts around some of the kind of, I don't know if they're whispers anymore, but the folks on the side of this issue that say, look, juries have ran away with these cases, right? They are, awarding sums that make no sense, and they're giving people too much money in civil cases, and folks who want to take that decision away from the jury. What do you think about that?
Oh gosh, we could have so much fun with this one, but here's the thing. To the people who are not believing in our system, I'm going to try to keep this very short. Look outside the United States and look at what's happening in other countries where they don't give their citizens the power to make these decisions. If we go back to why this country was founded, religious freedom, the freedom to govern ourselves, a democracy. If anyone loves Hamilton and, is jamming up to Hamilton, look at those words. And it's like, the government is for the people, by the people, for the people who think they're smarter than our founding fathers, right? I urge you to go read some history books and see what can happen if you try to change our democracy. Listen, I don't agree with every jury decision. I don't agree with every change ruling. I don't agree with every law. But as a citizen and as an attorney, it is our job to enforce our laws and protect our laws. So if you can ask a jury to decide if someone committed murder and send them either to prison for life or to death row, how can a jury decide that, but not decide if this person has been hurt or killed in a car wreck or on a premise? Where are we going with that? And it's a very dangerous, slippery slope. Also, a huge part of what the general public does not know. Anytime there's a large verdict, one, it is not a soft tissue fender bender case, right? Ever. Two, the insurance company, at least in my job, has every single time had an opportunity to resolve that case within the policy, within the insurance policy, and they decide not to. So then we take it to a jury and we're saying, well, why you can't tell the jury there's insurance? But they said no. The insurance companies are 100% of the reason that those verdicts are in a courtroom. They could have resolved it for their insurance policy, which is usually substantially less, right? So they gamble and then they blame us. You know who is left is our client, who would give every single penny back to not be injured or have their mom or dad or husband or child back, right? So I have a lot to say on it, but if the Constitution is good enough for our country to start, I think we should probably lift back and trust our citizens to get it right.
And in your experience being in the courtroom, both on the criminal side of things and now the civil side of things, do you think there are people who come and show up for jury duty and end up sitting on juries? Do you think they take their role pretty seriously, right? Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this. So they get there, and it's usually Monday, Tuesday morning, and nobody's happy to be here. No, 0. It's 0%. One of our questions is, does anyone want to sit on the jury? And when people say yes, I'm kind of like, well, why? Because nobody does. Then they hear the evidence. And I've been on both sides. I've been a prosecutor. I've done some criminal defense. I'm a plaintiff's attorney. I've done insurance defense. Every single time, the juries are listening to the evidence, trying to get it right. Now, in the thing that matters is what they say is right. So yeah, by the time they're invested, what happened? What happened to these people? That's what I've found too. And especially going back and talking to the juror after the verdict is something that I found really important in my practice. And yes, then you get to hear them tell you like, well, we listened to this and we thought about this and we were back here and we were arguing about this. And you're like, wow, they really put a lot of effort into this. They know how it's supposed to work.
It is supposed to work. And sometimes they say things that we've worked on this case for years, right? They're like, well, we thought about this. And I was like, oh.
It's at a trial in Cobb County. And it was unfortunately a defense verdict. It happens. But, the jury listened to the evidence. They said it was a really hard decision. I believed them, right? Because it is a hard decision, very hard. And they took it very seriously. So I respected their verdict and my clients did too. And we didn't like it, but we respected it 100%. And we went back and talked to them. And they were like, what we really wanted to see, what we really had a question about was this. And I was like, oh, right. Okay. Right. Good to know. Right. And it was just them really wanting to figure out the mechanism of what had happened. Right. I had a client whose hip had been injured in a hospital as they were putting her on a bedpan. Yes. And they were like, well, we just can't imagine how that would happen. And she had since passed away from unrelated issues. So she wasn't there to really like, hey, yeah, texture. So it was hard, but the HR case, it was. But they were focused on it and they wanted to figure that out. And it's like they drove right to the issue of the case. And anyway, all that to say, I think we should trust our juries too. I 100% can't imagine putting these very personal decisions that are fact intensive in the hands of politicians and insurance companies and corporate lobbyists that are out there pushing for limits on what a jury can award.
No, it would be an extreme detriment to every single person in this country, no matter what you're litigating, business, personal injury, criminal, divorce, if we professional judges. Also, just, how we get almost not immune, but we build up calluses to looking at photos and looking at medical records. I think a professional judge, no matter who he or she is, couldn't help but build up a callousness or
Like a bias, maybe.
or it's like just kind of get desensitized.
Say over.
Yeah, makeup words. I make up words all the time, but like just not be as vulnerable as a jury can be to the evidence and as absorbent. I don't know. You have to fix that, please.
And I mean, I say that all the time. Our clients are not lawyers.
They're not lawyers.
They are lawyers. They are, right. I say they are not. I've had lawyers as clients before, but totally different story we could talk about.
Yeah.
For a long drive, hot thing. But our clients aren't lawyers. Things that happened to them didn't happen to them in like a professional legal aspect. It was in the everyday world life. Yeah. And so they want, and I think they deserve people that stand in their shoes to be making these decisions. Yeah. Right. 100%. Somebody's sitting up in a C-suite telling us what a cases were.
No.
I used to my stomach turn just thinking about it. So you talked about working on the insurance defense side. What is something that most clients don't realize about how insurance companies, injury cases?
Absolutely. Excuse me. The marketing the companies do is awesome. I was listening to you and Kara talked about all the cute little animals or funny people in the insurance companies, and it humanizes these companies. It's a company. It's a business. I'm glad I have insurance to protect, what I need protected: my car, my family, my home, my business.
Right.
It's a business. I had numerous really catastrophic cases when I was at the insurance defense company. I worked with extremely good lawyers. It made me a much better lawyer. It's an analysis. It's an analysis of what the risk is. And granted, they never told me this. This is my observation.
Sure.
What is the risk? Is it going to go over our policy limit, or how likely it is? If it's not likely to go over our policy limit, they'll drag it out all day long, because why would they pay money which they have invested? Again, that's my opinion. I don't think the adjusters are bad people. I think they are very limited in their authority. And so it's not handing out money. I mean, it is like taking a favorite toy from a toddler and be like, well, it's not your toy. You have to give it back now. You have to make it right.
Right.
But they don't. It's a business decision.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I've seen that play out, and I've also tried my best in trying to put myself in the shoes of the folks on the other side who are hearing from me on behalf of my clients, right? Absolutely. And if I were them, what would motivate me? What do I need to hear? What do I need to know? And I feel like that is a way that I'm constantly working to present the facts to the defense lawyer, knowing that they understand who their audience is, right? Absolutely. And they're the decision makers.
The defense attorney in it.
Yeah.
Right. Here's some really great defense attorneys we all work with that are very candid.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't breach any confidentiality, but they're like, here's where we are, and that's not where we're getting. And at least we know, so we can make our decision. Very helpful.
Not everyone does that. No, it's very helpful. I appreciate that transparency. I try to give that transparency on my side too, right? I think trying to play some sort of cute hide the ball game doesn't get anybody anywhere.
Doesn't help our clients.
No, not at all. So how do you balance being a strong legal advocate for your client, the protector, right? With also supporting them emotionally? I mean, our clients have been through a lot, all right? A lot. And litigation, especially when it drags on, and it usually does, is constantly reopening that wound for them. How do you handle that?
It really is. I be as authentic and as transparent as I ever can. We have 4 chairs in my office that when we were designing my office, I didn't even realize kind of looks like a little coffee house. And we'll sit there for hours if we need to. And we have a wrongful death case pending right now, and I won't go into it. She sometimes just needs to talk. Yeah. And there's a couple attorneys on the case, a couple different firms on her person. And then there's another attorney on the case who is so wonderful. She is not super empathetic. She has her own skill set. So as a trial team, we really balance, who's going to connect with our clients, right? I'm not always that person on our trial team. I usually am. But just listen to them. They need to talk. You need to talk, listen, prepare them. Prepare them for what we're going into. Prepare them for their deposition, prepare them for mediation, prepare them when they're not there, what's happening, and just making sure their needs are met as best as I can.
Right. The expectation setting and preparation, I do found, is really big with clients. It's not unlike jurors. Clients don't really know the process. They're biased, right? And so just like a juror walking into the courtroom, kind of standing there, I've heard people call them hostages, right? Because they have no idea they're there and they're stuck there and they have to be there. You have to be here. They can't go to the bathroom. You wait till you. And so you have to, talk them through their situation. I feel similarly about my clients, right? Wanting to make them more comfortable in this process that we are comfortable with, that they had never been in before.
When we forget to explain it, so we are really working in our firm, because I've done this thousands of times. Someone said it best, I don't remember, or I give them credit. It's like, when your waiter or waitress at a restaurant acknowledges you, but they're not over yet, you're being acknowledged. You're not there, and don't talk to you. You're like, what's going on? So we try to be the very attentive leader of, here's what's next. All of my clients say, I want this over quick. And I'm like, well, this is not the process to do that. Right. It's not going to be quick. No. But they're more comfortable if I tell them this is not quick.
Right. We don't sugarcoat it.
Nope.
It's funny that you compared it to kind of the hospitality in a restaurant. I worked in a restaurant in high school and in college, and one of them was like, if you have not acknowledged a table within so many seconds of them sitting down, you're already behind that.
Right. Right. Just acknowledging what they need.
Yeah, that goes.
And we don't nail it 100% of the time, but we really try.
Right. So there's some other like businessy things we could talk about. However, okay. So just some fun things to end on. I want to hear the best story you have from your experience as a prosecutor.
In what way?
I knew you were asking that. Okay. There's super good wife. I know. I've heard some of them, and I don't always come back. Okay, great. Because I think we could have a whole episode about your stories and as a prosecutor. So let's see, your best story from your time as a prosecutor, let's gear it towards being a female in what's typically been dominated in the men's world. Let's go that route with that.
Like the most shocking?
Yeah, the most shocking thing a dude did. Shocking, offensive. Yeah. We don't have to name names, though. We're not naming names if you want to know.
But no, we're not naming names. One of them that came into the courtroom, I was a felony prosecutor, and he said to actually one of my best friends, amazing prosecutor. She's very attractive. She knows her stuff. She is not interested in picking up men in the courtroom.
Right. She's there to work.
She's there to work and do her job. Right. Prosecuting Gracie was friends, and he kind of leaned into her, and she thought he was looking at our calendar, and he goes, you make my pants feel funny. And I like that she has these beautiful blue eyes, and she was like, so let's discuss your client's plea offer or trial. And she just marched on, and I was like, oh gosh, my mom can't listen to this one. I was a young prosecutor. There's so many. There was a young prosecutor, or I was a young prosecutor. And I had a suit, a very cute suit on, an Ann Taylor suit. I was like 27. And long story short, this attorney I did not know. Wouldn't matter if I knew him. But he decided to ask me what kind of underwear I was wearing. Okay. And then went on from there. So I don't know if you need to cut that one. Anyways, it was a whole big thing. And then this one is not, and keep in mind, this is a minority of the time this happens. But one time I was super pregnant. This is not inappropriate. It's just shocking. I was super pregnant with my second child. And we convicted this young man of armed robbery. He had set up this armed robbery. I don't know why. He was a collegiate basketball player. I don't know why this young man did this. His mom was wonderful. He tried to attack me in the courtroom when he was convicted, and I'm like 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't go well, but he had already been sentenced, so why not, I guess? He didn't hurt me. That my 60-year-old trial partner was like, and I'm like, okay, cool. He's yelling at my onboard child, and
this is not on your bingo card. But I was like, no, I've been a prison. No. And I'm like, God,
I hate he did that. I hate he did that. That set up the armed robbery. He had a great life coming, but
Right.
Yeah, we could. I don't even know where the line is with appropriate and inappropriate. I don't know, Oddcast.
I'm still stuck on the guy leaning over saying she makes his pants feel funny. I don't even know.
Feel funny or my leg feel funny. It's not felt funny in there, and
I don't know how that's fun. Not what we were there to discuss. No, you just don't. You don't say that. And what in the world comes over someone to make them think that that's okay?
I don't know. But our whole office heard about it, and we all discussed it. And this is 10, 15 years ago, and I can remember it.
Yeah, you're not gonna forget it. I mean, I guess don't do that. No, I was gonna tell you to do that. What's the practice tip from that? I think it's just don't do it. Keep it inside. Yeah, I don't. Those are personal thoughts.
Yeah, I don't. That's not how I think in court. But if you think like that, don't keep that inside.
Please do. Wow. That's great. That's where we are. Well, I really appreciate you being on today, and I've enjoyed hearing about Dancing with the Stars. It'll get so great. And I can't wait to hear how that goes and hearing your insights from all the different roles you've held in our legal field. It's been really, thank you for another great. That's it on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Bird's Eye View. Please like, follow, subscribe. They really need to give me a list of this. But do all the things. Listen to the podcast. Comment on it. Engage with it. Let us know if you want to be a guest on the podcast. If you're as cool as Molly, maybe we'll let you. Maybe I'll need to come back. Let's see how this one goes. I would love for you to come back. Thank you guys so much. That's it for us.